Did you know that learning a new language can actually change the way your brain works? It improves memory, boosts problem-solving skills, and even enhances your ability to multitask. More than half of the world's population is bilingual or multilingual, which means most people around the globe can speak 2 or more languages. But what makes learning a new language so challenging for some and easier for others? Have you ever wondered if it's possible to become fluent in a second language as an adult? Hello, I'm David, and today we're going to explore a fascinating topic: learning new languages. Whether you're just starting to learn English or you're curious about how to pick up other languages, you're in the right place. In today's conversation, we'll be looking at some common challenges and benefits of learning languages. And of course, we'll also teach you some new English words along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to the Speak English Fluently channel, where we'll learn more new words together in every video. Let's jump right into it.
Learning new languages is such an interesting topic, Emily. Have you ever tried to learn another language besides English?
Oh yes, I've tried learning French. It was a bit tough at first, but I started to enjoy it once I got the basics down. Speaking of which, John, do you know what the word bilingual means?
I do. Bilingual refers to someone who can speak 2 languages fluently. For example, you could say, Emily is bilingual because she can speak both English and French. It's pretty common for people in many countries to be bilingual.
Exactly. And when someone can speak more than 2 languages, we call them multilingual. It's amazing how many people in the world are multilingual, especially in places like Europe and Africa. But you know, John, learning a new language as an adult can be quite difficult. Do you know why that is?
Yes, it's because of something called critical period. The critical period is the time during childhood when the brain is most receptive to learning languages. After this period, it becomes harder to learn a new language. You can say many scientists believe that the critical period for language learning ends around puberty. But that doesn't mean it's impossible to learn a new language later in life.
That's true. Even though it might take a bit more effort, adults can definitely become fluent in new languages. In fact, learning languages later in life can be very beneficial. It helps to improve cognitive function. Do you know what cognitive function means, John?
Absolutely. Cognitive function refers to brain activities like thinking, remembering, and problem solving. You could say, learning a new language can enhance cognitive function and keep your mind sharp. So, learning a language is like a workout for your brain.
Exactly. And speaking of challenges, have you ever come across the term fluency? People talk a lot about fluency, but what does it really mean?
Fluency means being able to speak or write a language easily and smoothly. For example, it can take years of practice to achieve fluency in a second language. It's not just about knowing a lot of words, but also about using them correctly and naturally in conversation. But what do you think about the term immersion? I hear that a lot when people talk about learning languages.
Oh yes. Immersion is when you surround yourself with the language you're learning, so you have no choice but to use it. For instance, living in a country where the language is spoken is one of the best ways to achieve immersion. It's a powerful method because it forces you to think and communicate in that language all the time.
Exactly. But sometimes learning a language isn't just about immersion, it's also about motivation. Do you know what motivation means, Emily?
Yes, motivation is the reason or drive to do something. You could say, having strong motivation can make learning a new language much easier. Without motivation, it's hard to stay consistent, and consistency is key when learning anything new, especially a language.
That's so true. Consistency is really important. And another word that comes up a lot when talking about language learning is acquisition. Have you heard of it?
Yes, acquisition refers to the process of learning something, especially in a natural, unconscious way. For example, children often learn languages through acquisition by hearing and using the language around them. It's different from learning, which usually involves formal study.
Exactly. Acquisition happens naturally, often without much effort, especially when it comes to children. But adults usually rely more on learning through study and practice. Speaking of study, there's another important term: grammar. Do you know how to explain that?
Sure. Grammar is the set of rules that explain how words are used in a language. For instance, if you want to speak correctly, you need to understand the grammar of the language. It's one of the trickier parts of learning a new language, but it's essential if you want to communicate clearly.
Definitely. And what about vocabulary? That's a big part of learning any language, right?
Yes, vocabulary refers to all the words that a person knows or uses. For example, when learning a new language, it's important to build a strong vocabulary. The more words you know, the easier it is to express yourself. But it's not just about memorizing words, it's about using them in context.
Exactly. And speaking of using words in context, what about pronunciation? I think that's something learners often struggle with.
Absolutely. Pronunciation refers to the way in which a word is spoken. For example, good pronunciation is important if you want to be understood when speaking a new language. It can be hard, especially if the sounds in the new language are very different from your native language. But with practice, it can improve.
Right? Practice is the key to mastering pronunciation. And one last term I think we should cover is polyglot. Have you heard of that?
Oh yes. A polyglot is someone who speaks multiple languages. For instance, a polyglot can often switch between languages with ease. It's an impressive skill and shows how adaptable the human brain can be when it comes to language learning.
Absolutely. And speaking of impressive, I think it's amazing how learning languages opens up new cultural experiences. When you learn a new language, you're not just learning how to communicate, you're also learning about the culture, traditions, and values of the people who speak that language.
That's so true, John. Language and culture are deeply connected. For example, certain words or phrases might not even exist in other languages because they are so tied to specific cultural ideas.
Exactly. And it's also why idioms can be difficult to learn in a new language. Do you know what idioms are, Emily?
Yes. Idioms are expressions that have a meaning different from the literal meaning of the words. For example, "It's raining cats and dogs" is an idiom that means it's raining very heavily. Learning idioms is often one of the trickiest parts of mastering a new language because they don't always make sense when translated word for word.
That's right. And understanding idioms can really help you sound more natural when speaking a new language. It's something that takes time, but it's worth the effort. And speaking of effort, I think it's important to mention that learning a language requires dedication. Do you know how to explain that?
Yes, dedication means being committed to something and working hard at it. For instance, learning a new language takes a lot of dedication, but the rewards are worth it. You need to practice regularly, stay motivated, and keep going even when it feels difficult.
Absolutely. And one of the best ways to stay motivated is to set small, achievable goals. For example, you might aim to learn 10 new words each week or practice speaking for 15 minutes every day. This brings me to another word: progress. How would you explain that?
Progress refers to the process of improving or getting closer to a goal. You could say, even though learning a language takes time, It's important to celebrate small progress along the way. It's all about taking it step by step and not getting discouraged.
Exactly. And learning a new language is definitely a journey. It's not something that happens overnight, but with the right tools and mindset, anyone can do it. It's all about staying consistent and enjoying the process.
Yes, and for those of you watching, I hope you found this conversation useful, not just for understanding the topic of language learning, but also for expanding your English vocabulary.
Definitely. And remember, the key words we've discussed, bilingual, fluency, immersion, motivation, acquisition, and more, are all important parts of learning any language, not just English.
That's right. So keep practicing, stay dedicated, and before you know it, you'll be making great progress. Now let's hand it back to David for the conclusion.
Thank you, John and Emily, for that fantastic conversation. I hope all of you watching learned something valuable today, not only about learning languages, but also about how to improve your own English skills. Whether you're aiming to become bilingual, achieve fluency, or just expand your vocabulary, remember that learning a new language is a rewarding journey that benefits your brain, your career, and your understanding of the world. Before we wrap up, here's an interesting fact.